Hello, this is the RPG Crawler, and welcome once again to Indie Game Friday, where each week I take a look at a different independent role-playing game. This week I'm dipping my toes back into the Souls-like waters to examine an indie action RPG, from a few years back. Shrouded in Sanity was developed by Steve Gall and published by Pugware, and released on Steam back on May 27th, 2016. Now, Shrouded in Sanity is a 2D Soulsborne-inspired game with pixel graphics and RPG elements. At least, RPG in the idea that there's a story and alternate paths of character development that are attainable through equipment upgrades. Really, it's more of a horror adventure than an RPG proper, but it sits firmly in the blurry borderline of genres, so I figured it was well worth taking a look at anyway. In terms of plot, it is set in an alternate history in the late 19th century Britain. The main character is raised from the dead and put under contract to eliminate the source of an unnatural fog about an expansive manor. Aside from dealing with the various supernatural horrors along the way, you uncover a storyline tinged through and through with Lovecraftian elements, which eventually impacts your character's very sanity. Gameplay is relatively simple. You wander around a manor divided into discrete rooms, speak with NPCs, engage enemies, avoid traps, and interact with certain hotspots that are clearly marked within the environment. Along the way, you can gather vitae from corpses or mystical stones from butler-type enemies that can be used to upgrade your character. In the event of your death, you can travel back to your corpse to recover the vitae that you'd gathered up to that point, although the arguably more valuable Yith stones actually stay with you, thus taking a little bit of worry off. Once you defeat an enemy, you can, as mentioned, extract vitae from their corpse, but they may also drop additional materials, such as injections that restore health, ammunition for your firearms, or battery acid that is used for your torch. After each death, the character will start with a set number of ammo and injection uses regardless of what has happened. During play and combat, you can walk about in 4 directions, sprint, dodge roll in any direction you can move, execute a light attack, a heavy attack, guard, or use your pistol. If you light attack while you're guarding, you execute a parry, and if you do it during the right time during an opponent's attack, this can actually stun them. Likewise, shooting an enemy during a certain attacks can stun them as well. Aside from the obvious of buying time without being attacked that happens during stuns, you can actually attack a stunned character for additional damage, as well as occasionally running them right through, which causes exceptional damage. Your character has 2 main bars, hit points that tell you how close you are to death, and stamina. Stamina is used during attacks, running, dodge rolls, or when an attack is guarded or parried. It regenerates over time, while hit points do not. If your hit point total runs out, you die and you are returned to where you saved your game, while running out of stamina puts you into an exhausted state until you regenerate back to positive levels. This leaves you slow and unable to block or attack, which can be a serious detriment. Fortunately, you can use injections that with each respawn grants you a certain amount, as mentioned, to replenish both your health and your stamina. Unfortunately, doing so takes time, so be sure to stay out of the line of fire while you're doing it. During play and exploration, you will uncover various NPCs that can upgrade one aspect of your character. Most of these cost Yith stones, which are used in groups of 3, while a few require vitae. Vitae can be taken from any enemy, and those enemies do respawn, but Yith stones only drop off of butler enemies, which do not seem to respawn. Thus, the far more useful and far more in-demand Yith stones are also the rarer currency, and put a practical limit on your character's overall development. One thing to watch is the character's sanity. Over time, your character's sanity will degrade due to certain actions, which increases the difficulty overall. Harder monster types will begin to appear in certain rooms, and there are more of them. This can lead, unfortunately, to a bit of a snowball effect if you're not careful, but it does seem that it can be mitigated with skillful play. Graphically, the game uses a gothic pixel art style for most things that is really wonderfully animated, although the user interface uses a more high-res look that really stands in stark contrast to the characters and backgrounds. The music is a nice mix of classical piano that is pleasant to listen to, and at least partially evokes the games that inspired this one. What impressed me is that this was all done on GameMaker, at least apparently, which goes to show what a skilled developer can do with that engine. It does supposedly have controller support, although I couldn't get it to recognize my particular controller. I'm pretty sure that if you've got an Xbox controller, it should be recognized by default. I do have some moderate issues with the game. First is that although it is a really well done 2D Souls-like, there are just so many of them out there now. Now I understand this was released back when the market was only just getting into the flooded territory, but if you're out and out sick of games that take inspiration from that genre, this one's not going to change your mind at all. The keyboard controls, which I was stuck using, do seem a little bit on the clunky side, and I don't know if this translates to a proper game controller. I should probably note that the controls themselves seem responsive enough. It just seemed that the timing on the game side occasionally seemed a little off, and executing the oh-so-useful parry attack combo that so much of the game seems to rely on was really just a little bit harder than it should have been, and I suspect it's due to this timing issue. There's also, a little bit of unintuitive design in the game, although I suppose that's really more my fault for not recognizing the genre tropes. I did find myself spiraling into a situation where my sanity had decreased to a point where it was actually difficult to make much progress. I believe that an NPC will assist with mitigating the effects, but saving enough vitae to do so ended up being a task that consumed a bit too much of my time during the amount I set aside for this brief look. There's also some typos that are sprinkled throughout the text, so if you're a real nitpicker with that, and I am, then that might begin to irritate you. Now that having been said, it really is a nice looking game, and it's relatively inexpensive. It plays quite well, even with all the things I mentioned, and if you're a fan of the Souls-like genre, you might have way better luck with the difficulty and mechanics than I did. It should also be noted that this game has something of a sequel that leans more towards the Metroidvania style that I'll probably take a look at next week. For now, this has been the RPG Crawler with Indie Game Friday Shrouded in Sanity. As always, I'll put a link in the description below. If you like what you've seen, remember to leave a like, comment if you've got any feedback, and subscribe for more RPG content, both tabletop and computer. If you're feeling particularly generous, I do have a Patreon at patreon.com/rpgcrawler that goes towards supporting this channel and reviews like this. Until next time, take care and goodbye.